Welcome, everybody. So, as a German living in the US, there are two things I can't get rid of. It's that accent, obviously, and the desire to be very efficient. So, everybody has 1 minute for their intros.
I can do it in 30.
Wow. Go ahead.
Oh. Hi, everyone. So I'm Jennifer Kijek. I am the VP of Alliances at Phenom Digital. Phenom Digital is a digital agency focused on Salesforce commerce solutions in the retail and CPG space.
My name's Eric Griego. I work for a company called Yapo. I've been there for 3.5 years, and I run our strategic alliances on the enterprise side. So that encompasses platforms, agencies, and also tech partners.
No sound? I gotta hold the volume.
Bueller?
Which one? This one. Can I use yours? Thank you. Marco de Paulis, Director of E-commerce Partnerships at Rider E-commerce by Whiplash. Worked at 3 different agencies before jumping over to the tech platform and MarTech side. So yeah, excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Ashley Scorpio. I've been in partnerships on the agency side for about 7 years. I was the first ever head of partnerships at WPromote. Most recently, I was the Senior Vice President of Partnerships at Hawk Media, serving on the executive team there. And then outside of that, I teach strategic partnerships and sales at the Elevate Accelerator, as well as the Fearless Fund Accelerator, both of which focus on marginalized communities of Black and Indigenous people and women of color.
Hi, I'm Rob Rebholz, co-founder of Superglue. We're a partner engagement platform, so companies use us to ensure that everybody in their partner ecosystem knows them, trusts them, feels valued, and drives more business their way. Before that, I founded and scaled a company that drives 70% of their revenue through partnerships. But the one thing we always struggled with was agency partnerships. I think it's a lot harder to make those work than tech partnerships. And I wish I could be sitting, could be in that crowd 7 years ago. So I'd love to hear like what's different from tech partnerships. Like how do you make agency partnerships work? And who should focus on agency partnerships?
I'm a little biased coming from the agency side. I think everyone should be open to a conversation with agencies and considering agency partnerships. And I think that can also be counterintuitive, even if you're another agency. There still might be the opportunity for deal flow if there's not a fit on either end. Perhaps a prospect is too big or small for you, but they'd be a great fit for one of your agency partners. Perhaps you're not full service and there's a service offering that an agency partner could be complementary to. Perhaps at a certain point, especially with some of the staffing issues that people are seeing, a white label partnership might make sense with another agency. But tech partners, of course, are an incredibly natural fit for agencies from a partner perspective. I've worked with over 600 tech partners from an agency perspective. And that can either be in a referral capacity, a reselling capacity, a co-selling capacity. There's just endless ways to work together from the tech side.
Marco?
I guess I'll go next. I think tech and agencies are definitely 2 completely different selling motions, how you operate internally, externally. With tech, it's very product-driven first, and then you tell the story together, you drive it to market, whereas with an agency, they have a much larger picture. They have a bigger picture of the tech stack. You're usually one piece to a larger puzzle, specifically in like the e-commerce space. So it's definitely 2 different internal selling motions. The enablement that you're doing internally, externally is completely different. So I get the pleasure of having both on my team, so I get to do both, and it's equally exciting. I would say tech, on the tech side, is sometimes a little harder.
Wow.
People make it hard.
So Eric, you think it's the tech side's harder? That's interesting.
Tech to tech, yeah, in my opinion.
See, I'm on the agency side, and I think we're difficult in some respects. I agree with everything they said, but I think agencies are a more nuanced approach, right? Eric's right, like you're a piece of a larger solution, but you can't underestimate the customer success component of working with an agency, and we're all very referral and lead driven, but at an agency, most of my accounts are existing in the existing base, and I want us to have a partnership where, you're incented to help us grow that business and you're not just looking for net new. So I think customer success becomes a really nuanced aspect of working with an agency.
I think just the biggest difference is how many stakeholders you have to get in front of at the agency level. And with tech partners, it's a lot more clear and distinct. And so people make things complicated, especially if you add more people who have different responsibilities, different goals, different day-to-day roles. And that's just, you just can't plan for any of that. And so it takes a lot of time. You got to build rapport. And then there's, of course, lots of turnover. And you need to start from scratch and make sure you stay on top of it. So there's just a lot more to it, in my opinion.
Building off of that, just quickly, tech to tech, I would say, perhaps think integrations, right? Think product driven. Tech to agency, one of the main things to think about is that, as a SaaS business, you might not have as in-depth relationships or influence over your customers, whereas an agency hopefully has a great ongoing working relationship, one-to-one with key stakeholders and decision makers at their clients' companies. And so there's a greater level of potential influence they could have when sending business your way and hopefully helping you close that deal.
I love all of that. I wish I had known that. So I put on my glasses today to read the questions. Now I can't read them. The biggest mistake you made building agency partnerships. I will actually I won't talk too much. Biggest mistake I made when we built our agency program was not understanding that just because we have a great product and a great integration into a tool they are already selling, that isn't enough. So really figuring out what they are interested in, and ultimately it's not money usually. It's not, at least it's not the commission we pay them. It's us figuring out how we can create projects, opportunities for these agencies, and it took me probably years to figure that out properly.
I have two. So my last role, I built an agency program from maybe 10 or 15 agencies to like 500 or 600 in a couple of years, and that's the number one mistake. I didn't grow the team at the rate that we grew the program. And you get very excited about growth and all the new logos and all the new partners, and there's a lot of exciting things, and that does come with growth of opportunities and revenue and all of that, but it doesn't remain constant. And so if you do not continue to grow the team and support those agencies, things fizzle out, and you get to that 80-20 rule where 20% of the agencies are driving 80% of your revenue, and it's just it's kind of like a churn and burn scenario. So that was my biggest lesson. I think the second one is better templates and repeatable process. Some of us in partnerships are like super hands-on, very relationship-oriented. We want to schmooze and hang out and spend time and do calls and all of that, but it's not scalable. And so I learned that too late, and I needed to build more things later on in my, in that program.
I think my biggest by far, and it kind of ties into your point with customer success, is expectation setting. When you're a software company, the worst thing you could do is put your agency in a bad position on the delivery side. At the end of the day, they're not a software company. They're billable. Time is everything, and if they're not on time, on budget, the expectations aren't set properly in the sales cycle, and it just becomes a really bad experience. And I learned it once, and have not repeated that mistake.
That's awesome. I think there's a couple I've seen. The first one that comes to mind is that and I've been on the tech side as well. So when you're on the tech side and you're looking to get out of the services business, and you want to look and see if somebody else will build a practice around your offering. I've done it, and I actually see it to this day with some partners, is that there's an assumption that agencies want service revenue, and you should implement my solution. And it doesn't really work that way. The practice development is something that takes a lot of time, a lot of planning, and it's not really taken lightly at an agency to ramp up an offering around a new solution, to implement that new solution. So, definitely try to avoid making the assumption that you're a services business and you want service revenue. The answer is we do, but in a very carefully curated way.
Couple things to add. So I completely agree with Marco, at least internally, building a team at an agency with agency partnerships. The number one thing you need to ensure is that you scale the internal resources and support, not only within your team, but across the organization to support the plethora, hopefully, of partnerships that you have so they continue to flourish over time. However, inversely, the number one mistake I see potential tech partners make when they're trying to partner with an agency is they don't necessarily approach it as a partnership. They approach it as a vendorship, right? They perhaps immediately come to just sell the agency, just get the agency to license their software, just one-off, one big, one and done. And that's really short-sighted. That might be one big, fat, juicy deal. It might even be recurring. But if you think about the scale and size of the agency and the hopefully hefty client base that they have, that's a potentially longer term, much more lucrative long-term partnership to get in front of their clients. So I think that is often the case when a prospective tech partner doesn't have an agency partner team or a partner team, and perhaps it's just in the hands of the sales team. Because of course, the sales team is there to sell everyone, which is totally fair. So that would be the biggest mistake I often see made. And then inversely, one of the things I see that works really well is sort of taking it a step further beyond co-selling, is then thinking about building a go-to-market strategy together. And most SaaS companies don't offer any services, and yet the average user or some smaller brands or businesses might not have the resources in-house to implement that technology. So oftentimes it's great if you can come up with a service offering and be a certified agency partner of that particular software and be one of their certified partners, and that leads to great pipeline, hopefully for both partners involved.
I love it. That's actually something when we built our program, one of the agencies actually approached us and suggested we do that, or they actually set that offering up, and then we just rolled it out to everybody else, and wonderful things happened. So quick question to the crowd before we dive into the next question. Who feels like they already have a very strong agency and consulting partnership program? Wow, okay. So, how do you start? Like, how do you build a strong partnership program with these agencies? Best practices. What is the stuff you would recommend people?
I mean, I definitely think that's a loaded question. At Yapo, I've been in BD for 9 years, but at Yapo, I did have the benefit of like coming into an organization where there was top-down buy-in from a partnership perspective. We were just 200 employees at that time, and now we're a little over 1,000, so it changes. So I think internal buy-in, you could be as creative and flexible and dynamic as you can on the external side, but if you don't have internal buy-in to work with CS, to align on QBRs, to align on retention, to do combined target list and targeting with sales, delivering better together with your implementation and solutions team, that internal buy-in is so key to your external success and working with agencies in several different motions. And I think it's an ongoing thing that every partner manager, every leader should be doing. We get new VPs, we get new customer success managers. Sometimes when I ask them what an agency is, they're like, oh, Mad Men. They have no context, right? So you have to do a lot of continual learning and enabling, and that'll position yourself, your team, and the organization in a much better light and help you like externally be much more dynamic and valuable to the agencies.
I totally agree with everything you said, but I do that. I agree with Eric a lot. I mean, everyone's got these multi-step sort of partner programs, and you want to follow the path. I think when you're talking about an agency, there's kind of two pillars that you have to start with, and one is relationship building. It is so much a relationship business. We work with people that we trust. We work with solutions that our clients trust. But in the end, we all like to work with people that we like, and I think that's a huge component. You can't underestimate the relationship side of working with an agency. And you focus on enablement, right? Everybody wants to account map. Everybody wants to get to pipeline sooner than later. I think with an agency, that takes time. And in addition to the relationship building, understanding what this agency does, where they focus, where their verticals are, where you fit in with your value prop, and then enabling appropriately. Like, I don't want a corporate deck. I want to know how you work with my customers, how you work with Salesforce customers. Like, that, I really want to hear that up front. And then you move into those other natural steps. But I think it happens organically out of those two things.
Those are both, yeah, amazing points that to build off of them. They both take a lot of time. And so don't build too fast. Figure out those processes internally with the different stakeholders at CS and support and sales and marketing, and build out those functions and those engines so that you can actually support your partners properly and build a healthy program. But then also you need to build the process for then working directly with the agencies and the different stakeholders and what they need. And so all of these things, they're never really done. You're always doing it, but you need to get the buy-in early. You need to build it out. You need to test it out. So start small and then iterate off of that. And then once you can kind of build repeatable processes and figure out exactly what moves the needle with the agencies, and you can get into a good rhythm and a good flow with a few partners, then you can try and replicate that out. But if you try and build too quickly, you're going to spin a lot of wheels. You're going to, not burn bridges necessarily, but you're going to lose credibility with those agencies that you've actually gotten in the door with, which is not easy. And so then you just, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot and starting back at zero.
That's great, yeah.
Building off of that, I completely agree, and it seems counterintuitive. In partnerships, you would think the primary focus is outward, but I think it's really important to start facing inward, initially at least, to understand the organization that you're part of, what has been the impression of partnerships previously, the good, the bad, the ugly, what, if any, relationships do you need to really underscore, in particular with sales, all those key internal stakeholders like sales, client success, and marketing that are obviously key to partner co-marketing as well. Those are extremely important, and it's ongoing. And you also want to make it abundantly clear to your partners that you are their internal champion. You are their internal evangelist. You are trying to get them in front of your agency colleagues as well as your clients. So that's first and foremost. I think it also feeds back into that mindset from partnerships. One, make it mutual, make everything mutual. Hopefully it should be a win-win-win for the agency partner, the technology partner, and the client or customers involved in any given triad relationship that you're hopefully having across the board. And then something else that I love is beyond having these high-level partnership relationships across the board is the buddy system, right? You might get your partner marketer in touch with their partner marketer. You might get your sales rep for a certain region in touch with their counterpart, and build those one-to-one relationships. Make these multi-threaded, cross-departmental relationships, cross-partners.
I actually had one more quick one, too. When you're mapping the organization, having someone call down everyone in an agency, terrible idea. That's quickly identified as a partner that doesn't really have a strategy to work with you. I think it's really important to, when you're doing that due diligence, to figure out who's solutioning in the agency. I think there's a natural inclination for sales reps to work with sales reps. Sometimes they're not the ones. They turn that over to a pre-sales engineer, to a technical architect. When you're doing that homework, figure out who's actually solutioning these new implementations. And those are the people you want to start to reach out to. They make a lot of decisions.
Or bring them to your team.
Or hire them.
Similarly, you want to incentivize the right people. We've heard it in other presentations today and yesterday, but a spiff from a partner might not mean much to a business development executive, but it might mean a whole lot to a CSM who doesn't otherwise have access to any sort of spiffs and fun contests. So think about who has that relationship capital and sway with the prospective customer or client you're trying to win, and who would be most likely to be positively influenced to get the outcome you're looking for.
Let's talk about spiffs and incentives with tech versus agency. I think that's a great topic. It's a great topic because in the tech space, we did a lot of that kind of activity. In the agency space, we're considered trusted advisors. So we tend to stay away from monetizing our partners. Do you guys see that as well?
Go ahead, Marco.
I've seen it change over the years quite a bit, and more creative around using a spiff and turning that into like a discount for their customers. So I think that also helps with internal pitching and pitching to customers, but also showing that you're so close to a partner that you can actually help your customer save some money.
I couldn't agree more. That's oftentimes something we do to make the relationship stickier between the customer and the client with the partner, is instead of taking, let's say, that 10% commission, you offer an ongoing 10% discount on your services. And then inversely, if only, let's say, a 10% commission is being offered company to company, you say, we don't need this on a company level, why don't we give this to our reps instead?
So I tend to disagree just with like the spiff. For me, it's mostly about the intrinsic value, working with CS, solutioning correctly. If you build like a sticky, cross-functional partnership with an agency and they trust you, you're going to be in every build, future builds, nonstop. Spiff to me is just a band-aid fix for revenue, and sometimes it'll be a spike, but and there are different agencies in tech that I think it works with, but most of the SIs or agencies in my segment, they either can't accept spiffs legally because they're too large of a GSI, or it just doesn't get it going.
With it.
Yeah.
It's fine to have in your back pocket, but definitely don't lead with it. And you can tell really quickly, you can smell it. Like as soon as someone comes to you on LinkedIn with that, it's like, all right, I'm not answering.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We actually A/B tested this, and we took half of our agencies got these commissions, etc. The other half didn't. And what we learned, it had little effect. Often it had no effects. And what we saw is when somebody approached us, and for us it was like one of the signals, like if an agency approaches you as a tech company, and one of the first things they ask you is about commissions, that's a really bad sign. Yeah, you should get out of there. Like they just, because they're not looking to add value for their customers, and that's not who you want to work with. You want to work with a company that tries to do great things for their customers, and then they're going to make these customers happy with your product, and everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah, the agencies who lead with it are going to be the annoying ones.
Yeah. And it's never enough, right? They always want more. So yeah. So we do have bonus questions. Who's really good at this? Like, which company do you admire? Which company is really good at building these except of course.
Let's talk about Eric some more.
You're too nice
for the win.
No, I'm gonna.
I like
it's great to call out an example
That's
right
awesome.
here to embarrass him. So, Rebholz has been a partner of mine, going back years. And in addition to the sparkling personality and knowledge, I would say that the other important aspect of this is that he knows my business. And he doesn't just know my business, he knows the business I'm in. So, we get together and we talk about the industry. What's going on with our core partner? What are you seeing? What trends are you looking at? What reps are moving around? Who's closing business? Like, we're able to really talk about our industry and guide each other. And I think, again, that comes down to that relationship building. And the product is amazing, and we have a lot of clients using it, so we're able to do a lot of case studies and marketing together. So, thank you.
I love that. We still have time, but that would be such a good finish. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, something else that's great, as Rebholz as an example, is any tech partner you're looking for is if they're iterative, right? You want to recommend a technology partner that has an excellent product, because at the end of the day, hopefully a technology company is product-led and product-focused. And, Rebholz is continually iterating not only on their partner program and their offering, but the platform itself, the features, and that's seen through the acquisition and the development, which is great because oftentimes it can be sort of a one-stop shop in a sense for a number of clients an agency might have, because there's so many different solutions under the one umbrella.
Nothing to add?
Thank you. That's very kind. I'll go in a different direction. There's a company called 3Kit. They're mostly in the Salesforce ecosystem, and they do a really good job of just positioning their product. And it's a pretty meaty product. The integration is heavy, but the use cases are beautiful, and they've done a really good job just like aligning with the platform, the SIs, and Matt. They're just good people. I think they're doing it the right way, and it's very value driven. So if you haven't heard of 3Kit, definitely check them out. They have a really great product, and they'll be a force.
Beyond specific examples, I would say one thing that's extremely important as a technology company to be a great partner to an agency would be to offer superior, ideally, customer support. Whether that's a dedicated agency, customer success specialist, or what have you. At the end of the day, an excellent agency, who hopefully is a good partner to you in turn, is looking to offer really great service to their end client. So if they have a partner that is helping supplement that service offering with any sort of customer experience or customer success, that's extremely important, especially if and when, God forbid, anything goes down or anything's awry or there's a bug in the machine or ghost in the machine or what have you. If you, especially as an agency, say, oh, we have a dedicated rep for this with our wonderful partner, that goes a long way. Sometimes that can help you literally close deals.
Quick thing on that. Because at Yapo, since I run the enterprise side, I have a counterpart right here, Alex, and he's on the commercial side. I'm mostly handling complex agencies, opportunities, retailers, their omni-channel, loyalty. You're touching so many systems. So I worked with our VP, JD, on like getting resources, a partner solutions engineer who really helps scoping, setting expectations, and to your point, we have a delivery manager that, once it's, closed on, the delivery manager his whole focus is working with the other project manager from the agency, and we work within their process, whatever sprint methodology they have, and it's really been a game changer, and it's quite a unique setup that not a lot of software companies have.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. Reach out to these people. They're great. Everybody is fun, really open. Very happy about this panel. There's their contact data. Yeah, thank you so much.